All right, thank you. All right, Brett, are you back?
I am back and we
Okay, cool. All right, we can get started. As I said, I'm Stephen from the Digital Health Agency. I'm chairing today's meeting, and we have a number of agenda items on the screen here, as shown on the screen share that I have. Just want to get a feel from folks as to whether or not you want any of the agenda items changed, reordered, or you have anything new to add to the agenda.
Stephen, I wouldn't mind if we just checked in. There was an action item outstanding related to the Medicare benefit scheme code system / value set that we talked about.
Okay.
Just checking in about that action item and next step.
Right. Okay, I think that will be fine. We can add it in sort of like if we are okay with that, as action agenda item number 8, sort of before the next meeting plan. So if that's okay by you.
Sounds perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. I think that, on that agenda item, if we are waiting for information from the agency, Richard is off sick today, so we won't have any update from him. That's a heads up for now. All right. Okay, with that, sort of as the amendment to the agenda, let's browse through the agenda items. The first order is approving the meeting minutes of the last meeting, which is February the 12th. Sorry, Brett?
Yeah, I'm still working on those and I have not circulated them. So I think that
Okay,
will have to be delayed.
right.
So you can
Okay.
expect them
In
today
that case,
or
then
tomorrow.
that's
Yep.
fine. We'll table the approval for the next meeting, which is in a fortnight's time. So we defer that one. All right.
Thank
Okay. Action item number 2, updates from you, Brett.
I don't have anything too hot other than
Okay.
we had a nice AU core TDG run last week, and the CDG the day before.
Anything of interest?
it's-
Anything of interest from the AU patient summary workshop that you want to provide some highlight?
Don't know. Danielle, do you have any highlights? Oh, Steve.
I'll let Steve answer that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it was a good, I think it was a good session. Lots of good discussion. There's heaps of info on the minutes page, which is going to be circulated in the next couple of days. And from that, we got a few, I guess, priority things that we might want to talk about in the Connectathon in terms of the patient summary exchange options. Yeah, I think that's all I can think of at the moment.
all right, sounds good. Thank you, Stephen. And for folks who are interested in the details of the meeting or the workshop, the minutes will be available for folks to peruse. Thank you.
I just had one more, Stephen, just on
Yep.
Connectathon coming up. We can expect some emails coming out to people who are coming about Connectathon tracks and kickoffs for those. And we also have confirmed on the first day, we're running 1 quarter for the FHIR Work Group, which will be the first quarter of the day. So if you are there, that's an option.
Wonderful. Just
Yep.
for the matter of minutes, can you put in the chat the dates of the Connectathon, so therefore the minute takers can have it in a minute as well, so for people's awareness?
We'll send that in the chat.
Yep, thank you. All right. That brings us to item number 3, which is also related to the Connectathon. FHIR breakout suggestions for the Connectathon. Who would want to lead this discussion? You, Brett, or Danielle?
I think there were 2 mentioned in our last meeting. I think Andy had a suggestion for one, and I think Brett, you had a suggestion for one, and we said we'd take the intervening fortnight, so there'd be an action there for people to, I guess, consider what breakouts would be good to run, and then come back to this group to propose them. I'm not proposing one for the FHIR Work Group. I've got a few for patient summary and core to look after. So I think it might be over to Brett on,
If only I could remember
and
what
slash
that was.
also open if there's any particular topic that we want to bring to the Connectathon. I know we're talking through some things around MBS and PBS, and I think there's potentially some other items coming down the pathway. I don't know if there's anything there that we want to organize a session on.
Okay, thank you. So if folks wants to propose a track, what is the process?
I think we were thinking the process was talk about it in this meeting, what your idea was, and we go, yeah, that's pretty good, and you're going to be available, awesome. And then we'd email HL7AU and say, hey, could we have a slot in the breakout schedule? So there's one room across the 2 days.
So do folks email the co-chairs of this group, and then the co-chairs of this group then get in touch with HL7AU?
Yeah, I think that needs to be the process. If there's nothing at the moment that people want to raise, and we want to extend the offer, that I think that does need to be the process. Email the co-chairs.
Okay, sounds good, because
with
I
a
know
title, a couple of points on what it is, and who'll facilitate the session.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's sort of have that minuted as well, and then people who look into the minute can also action on that. Awesome. All right. So do we have anything else that we want to talk about, action item, agenda item number 3, before we move to the next one? Anyone has any questions? All right, hearing none, then item number 4, AU-based next release, Brett.
Oh, okay, so I think this was aimed at having just a general discussion about plans and expectations around our next version of AU base. So I have no particular notes other than we probably just need to discuss our plans, because we will have to obviously put our notice of intent to ballot out for whenever we decide to go to a ballot cycle.
So I think, and I don't think there's anyone who would object to this, that we are working already on the next version of AU base, right? We're agreeing on things, and we're proposing and agreeing on changes. Which actually, what's the state on that? Has anyone submitted any PRs to the AU base project? I know some things have been agreed and suggested by people. But has anyone done the work and submitted the pull requests, or are they not going to be there for the Connectathon?
That has not been.
Oh, there is one submitted
There's-
by
There's
Michael
somebody missing.
Osborne. So that's in progress for those years. All right. And I think we agreed on another change, which was around the PBS. Oh, sorry, Ruben, your hand's up.
Not sure if this was agreed, so I'm just checking if anyone else's memory is better than mine. But I know when we agreed to add sex parameter for clinical use to e-requesting, there was some discussion around potentially putting an AU base and profiling it there. I'm not sure if that is actually what was discussed or agreed, but just flagging that as potentially something which might need a jury ticket to start with.
Yeah, that hasn't come into AU base yet. So I think that discussion has only been in the e-requesting project at the moment. So I think that has to come up.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, actually lots. Hang on.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So current state, we've got an outstanding PR for a couple of the TCs, but we do actually have another agreed change request, which came through. Oh, it was around the PBS stuff, wasn't it? And we agreed around
Remove the
changing
OID. Yeah.
the code system artifact, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just removing the OID.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we could get that in for the connectathon, so the snapshot could have those changes. They're the only ones I think we've agreed. That seems pretty easy to do and get out. But then I guess we need to think about the other stuff we're doing in R6. So I think that's a mix, like we did in R5, of supporting downstream projects. So e-requesting or core or patient summary will say, hey, I need something. It's also a mix of supporting what's coming through from community or needs while trying to implement FHIR. The whole PBS kind of conversation is a perfect example of that. And we'll just essentially rely on people's needs to raise those in the different FHIR work group meetings. And so whatever gets raised and I guess worked through is what will go in. And then I think we've also got a backlog though. We did a whole bunch of work through ballot and our backlog, and we deferred things from our last release. I think we have to go through that backlog in a somewhat systematic way and work out if any of these things are things that we can or should work on in 6, or if we just keep them off on the backlog, or if they're no longer relevant. So that's something that I'd like us to do as an activity. The other thing I think we should do is put out a call for the, I guess, what people want to go into AU base and kind of talk about it. Ruben just identified that, you know, sex parameter for clinical use is something that would be good. And I do think we should put out a call and kind of have a scoping discussion and get people to bring, I guess, things that they would want to see worked on in AU base. What do people think about that? We could do that in like our next meeting or the one after that.
Yeah, I was actually sort of thinking about, do we have a one-stop conference page for people to get a comprehensive view of what's being planned or being thought of, considered, and whether or not there are sort of time schedules that needs to be adhered to. That would be useful to guide some structured discussions.
I don't think there is one. There is a JIRA filter for our backlog, so people could see what's on the backlog.
Okay.
But we don't have a. I guess it sounds like an AU-based project page that someone would maintain.
Yeah, I think that would be useful, but I know that would mean also extra work. And if we don't have the bandwidth to do that, then that's fine.
I think it'll need some prepping anyway to have the discussion. So,
does anyone want to put their hand up to do that for the AU base page? Okay, we can minute that as a good idea, but
yeah, we can minute that as a good idea and then ask for volunteers, and hopefully there will be someone who wants to step up. Okay, Danielle, thank you. Anything else?
I guess, no, hang on. Coming back to the action, just if we're going to put out a call, and we'll do it in the next, we could do it in either the next call or the face-to-face. Are there any preferences as to whether or not we say, hey, we'd like to discuss the scope of AU base, come to this meeting if you've got any ideas? Is a fortnight too short? Or should we leave it to the hybrid meeting on the 18th of March? What are the preferences?
I would suggest that we at least sort of have some preliminary discussion at the next meeting, which will provide the foundation and also structure for the face-to-face and hybrid meeting. That, in my opinion, is quite useful.
All right, I'll take an action to maybe post on Zulip that's what we're going to discuss in our next meeting and put the
Yep.
details for that so people can come along to that meeting.
Sounds good. Okay,
Okay,
anything
that-
else on item number 4?
Oh, actually, sorry, one final one, dates. Ballot cycle, August. I think that has to be locked in, although we need to do a PSS. And I think, Brett, you're happy to do that.
Yep.
And
good.
come back to this group. But to service the other downstream IGs, including e-requesting, core, patient summary, we need to be putting out our ballot for working standard R6 in the August ballot. So I guess that's our cycle of work. I'll just put that there. I guess if there are objections to that, we can talk about it if that comes up.
No, I think that's
Yeah,
good.
so yeah, for the minutes, I'll just drop. There are tentative dates here. So that gives us like notice of intent to ballot cutoffs and stuff, 10th of June. That is the tentative cycle at the moment.
All right, anything else?
And I guess we
Okay.
need to choose our version number as well. I'm assuming it's going to be 6 point something because it's a major release. But
No, Sember. We use
maybe not.
Sember.
Yeah, no. So it may
And
or may not be. It may be
yes.
5.1. Yep. Yep. But we'll decide that, I guess.
All right, can we move to item number 5 now, or we still have something that we need to discuss on 4? All right, assuming that we can move on. All right, now is number 5, which is this GIR ticket on the screen. Who would want to lead the discussion on it?
If you don't mind, Stephen, I'll lead that one.
Sure, thank you. Go
Is
ahead.
it possible to share my screen?
Sure, I will stop sharing and then you can share.
Okay.
Yep, sharing your screen now.
Okay, are you seeing part of an IG there?
Yes.
SNOMED CT United States edition, that's what
Yeah.
we see. Yep.
Okay, so Danielle thought it was a good idea that we put something similar to what US Core has for guidance on using edition and version of a SNOMED CT in AU base. So US Core has this in the general guidance. There's nothing similar in AU base. So what I've done is sort of for SCT AU, I've done a similar pull request, which talks about how you do unversioned SNOMED validation. And then if you want to put the addition in there, that'll give you the AU extension. And then if you want to put the version in, you can put a version in and that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of, it's slightly out of date now because that's the AMTV3 example. And I'll have to change this to update it to look at AMTV4 medicinal products. But potentially you might want to leave that third example because it's talking about looking up an old product code. So my proposal is that we include in the general guidance in AU base, a guidance on how to validate SNOMED CT version and edition. And I'm open to some more discussion about this one before I make that motion.
All right, thank you, Michael. Anyone has any comments, any questions that you want to raise?
Ruben.
Thank
Then I heard
you.
Daniel first.
Okay.
No, but I was
Daniel?
second in
Oh.
raising my hand, so that was
Oh.
inappropriate etiquette. We'll go with Ruben first.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you. Yeah, look, thanks for doing this, Michael. I love providing certainty on things like this, and I think this is excellent. I guess the only other thing I'd flag is whether or not we want to make any mention or reference to the IPS terminology. Just noting that we may in the future be seeking to create IPS instances in AU patient summary that are internationally processable, which might necessitate the use of IPS terminology, but that's not certainly an immediate concern. But I'm very happy with this proposal and I support it.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Ruben.
Daniel. So thank you, Ruben. Any other comments, questions?
I was going to say I've forgotten about it, but now that you've showed it to me, I still think it's a really good idea. So I think it's good that we add that into base. And I don't know if the IPS terminology reference would ever belong in base. There's certainly no use of it, whereas there is use of SNOMED CT-AU. So I don't think it belongs in there now, and I'm not sure it would ever belong in AU base. Might belong in AU patient summary.
Cool. Ruben, you still got your hand up?
Sorry, old hand.
Okay. So there's no more feedback. I'd just like to move that general guidance be updated with guidance on SNOMED CT use in Australia.
All right, we have Michael Osborne making the motion. Do we have anyone who wants to second?
I'll second, Ruben.
Thank you, Ruben. Any further discussions or comments or questions?
Can we just look at the JIRA, I guess? So this is a JIRA issue on it. I just wanted to, because we skipped past that. And while I really love the content, I just want to make sure.
You want me to share? I can share that JIRA ticket.
Yeah. Just before we vote on it.
Yeah. So this, hang on. That is the JIRA ticket.
Okay. Yep. I'm happy to approve adding that section. Cool.
Okay. All right. So just out of curiosity, does this also applies to AU core as well?
Yeah, but with base having that guidance in it, we don't copy paste the same content. Yep. We just point to base's section.
Yep, sounds good. Yep. All right. Now that I also have my question asked, so any other comments or further discussions or questions? All right, if not, then I will call to the questions. Daniel, would you like to launch a formal electronic poll?
We'd love to, but I think it has to be Brett.
I can, yeah. Oh, Brett? Okay, Brett, please, if you can.
Let's have a go. All right, we're good.
All right. So we have 3 options on the screen. Please vote one of them. All right. We'll start the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we can freeze. Do we have the stats?
Yeah, so with my +1 because I couldn't vote, but that is 11 affirmative, 0 negative, 0 abstentions.
Has Daniel voted as well?
Yep, I got to this time. It was very exciting.
Okay, cool. All right, so motion carried. All right, and we are done with that. All right. Okay. All right. Action agenda item number 6 is deferred. So we are down to item number 7, which is AFMM1.
Oh, hang on, no.
It's only marked deferred for the last ballot. Yeah.
sorry.
That's the JIRA status of deferred, not
That's the JIRA
not
status.
the agenda topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right, not the agenda topic. So I thought
Yeah.
that it was deferred because so we still want to discuss that. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Do
Here
we
is
have
the
enough
JIRA ticket.
e-requesting people on the line to do that? Because I note this time that we don't have Andy, which we often do.
Yeah, I don't think that we have
Yeah.
Andy. We don't have Angus.
It might,
So
yeah, it might be better if we had one of them at least.
yep, I
yeah.
agree.
So maybe we need to defer this one that's deferred.
Yeah,
Yep.
can we just, I guess, yeah, when we see which meeting they can attend to
All right.
put that back on.
Okay, so we'll defer this one and reach out to Andy and Angus to ask them to be at the meeting, either the next one or at the hybrid meeting, so that we can discuss that. Anyone want to reach out to Andy and Angus?
Put
I
that
can do
against, you
that,
can put,
or
yeah, that's okay. If you're volunteering, Stephen.
or I
I'll-
can do that if that's
Thanks.
all right. Yeah, I can reach out to
Thanks.
Angus and Andy and send them a link to this JIRA ticket and ask them for an indication as to whether or not they are available next one or at the hybrid meeting. All right, that done. Number 7, over to you both, Brett and also Daniel on the AFMM1.
Yeah, so I did want to talk about coverage because we did have a poll out, which was open last time. And this was just to also just report back on that poll, but AU-based coverage is one of the draft 0 profiles we have. So I thought it would be relevant to bring that back for this discussion, at least. But we do have a couple of other draft 0 items, but we probably need to just have a think about how we can move those draft profiles into FMM1 or decide that we're not going to go ahead with them. So maybe it'd be good to go through this coverage poll, and then
Do you want me to
maybe
launch
talk about
that
actions.
link?
Yeah, you can launch that. Actually, the results are there on the screen. I put them in this morning.
Yeah, that's
so
what
we
I
just had to.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
what I
but it is
understand.
there.
Do you
Yep.
still want me to go to that link?
No, don't worry. Unless
Yeah.
people,
Okay, that's what I figured.
yeah. So yeah, it was a good response to this poll. So we had quite a few people come back with information. So just plans on implementing coverage. You can see that there's a number of people indicating they actually have implemented already, some plans to do so and some likely to do so. So yeah, it is obviously relatively, I mean, the coverage resources in use. So so that kind of, I think, indicates that a profile to support that would be helpful for the Australian environment. And yeah, because we definitely have multiple systems indicating that they will be doing things. And just with the coverage types, I think we did have some feedback from GPs as well as part of this discussion, just in general kind of conceptual stuff. But you can see there that there's quite a lot of things indicated there in use. The things we did know about, like Medicare, DVA, private insurance, concession cards, and so forth, they're the ones that we kind of have identified already. And certainly, even motor accident, self-pay and those things, but there's also some new kind of things there, public hospital funded, and a few other things there. So I think it kind of, I think this is kind of in line with what we've kind of got as guidance material in our current AU-based coverage profile. Having said that, there's not a lot of rules that we have in our coverage profile. Might be just worth getting it on screen. I'll send the link here. So Stephen, you can pick it up.
All right, so
Did we get an
so-
assessment of, I guess, which elements people have implemented? I know we looked at coverage type
not
there.
really. Not
Because I
really,
think
not-
one of the
not
things
that
for
level.
are we done or not is, I guess, what is being looked at is what's already been discussed in AU base. And I think we need to assess well, is that enough?
Go
And
deeper.
I don't know if the poll is doing that.
Yeah, so maybe cast out to more specific element use.
so I'm at this page, Brett, any specific area that you want me to navigate to?
Not really, because I mean we don't have. If you look at the profile down in the tree, like there's actually the only things we've really done is indicate which identifiers would be kind of relevant for this, and the rest of the information is really more guidance material on use, which kind of links types, coverage types to particular codes in Australian context. Since the type value set is already an extensible binding, we didn't have anything actually to say in the profile. So yeah, so I guess the
coming back to
question
that
is,
though.
what is there more to say for AU base? Yeah.
Well, I guess coming back to the coverage type, was there, I don't know if you've done an assessment on it or if we're just, I guess, going to look at that now on whether or not there was popular usage of concepts that aren't actually in the value set. I mean, certainly the top ones we'd already talked about, and you can see in the guidance a mapping for if it's Medicare, do this, if it's DVA, do that. So we got that for quite a few, but do we have it for all the popular ones? Or
I think we do. Yeah.
it does look like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I think all the popular ones were
Did we say
covered.
anything about motor accident and work cover in the guidance?
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
Yeah,
well
so,
then, yeah, I think that's a good assessment that at least the guidance and the value set looks appropriate for current implementation for type. And the remaining question is, do we need to, are people implementing anything else, I guess? Did we ask about identifiers?
not as such, but they're kind of linked to types as well. So it's
Yeah, so we have a list of identifier here. I don't think that they have, unless this list is exhaustive, I don't think that it has other types that we have here. We don't, that identifier list doesn't cover everything in here up to
I think it does because it's basically we've got healthcare card, pension card, seniors card. So I think it's, I mean,
So I think
this is
yeah, for the
pretty
questions
fine,
we
but
asked,
yeah,
we've got
yeah.
some good confirmation that what's in AU base is the right stuff. I'm just not convinced that this proves that we've got all the elements that are implemented covered. Only the ones we
Yeah.
asked about.
Yeah, true. But then again, I'm not sure how we would put any constraints on anything else in AU base anyway.
You could ask.
That's more of an AU core question.
So we're saying there's no other
Yeah.
identifier, codable concept, or other kinds of things, or extensions where we could talk about the other concepts to work out if there are additional extensions necessary.
Oh yeah, extensions could be a question for sure. Yeah.
We could undertake an investigation during the connectathon if there's someone there who wants to have a look at that on, because I recognize some of those vendors who've replied who might be at the connectathon to have a look at what's been implemented and how it's used.
Yeah, I think that might be a good follow-up. Yeah, because this came from me requesting as well. So its main users initially will be them.
I'm a bit surprised that for the 50% of public hospital funded stuff, we don't have a code for that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
a bit of a worry. to me.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe that's one to investigate specifically, because that public hospital funded, we don't have any advice
Yeah,
on
but
that.
only one person entered it.
Yeah.
Michael, do you have a system that you're operating?
I don't have a system, but I used to operate a system that did have, and there was,
Yeah.
you know, at least 50% of their work was publicly funded by the state health jurisdiction. So I'm really concerned that we don't have a code to cover that.
Well, I think okay. I think that would be good option to consider one and submit one up to international. And to add into the guidance on which code to use for this and bring that back as a proposal in base as like a potential use of additional concepts.
Yeah,
Yes.
because we've kind of used public poll, and that could be the right code for it, but we've used it for Medicare because that's the federal public funding model. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to go and have a look. I have had a look in the past, and I didn't see anything that was like a state jurisdictional based funding, but you never
Do
know.
you need to distinguish between state and federal?
You do. You certainly
Yeah.
do if you're trying to bill at the other
Yeah.
end.
And you have to do that through code, or the best way to do that you think would be through code in the type?
I guess you're trying. I'm only so this is we put coverage in because of e-requesting, and I guess from an e-requesting perspective, there's this whole is it Medicare funded or is it public hospital funded question. And if you've got a system that generates requests for a public laboratory, then you'll need to be able to indicate that that's ABF funded.
I guess I'm interested also, has this conversation not come up for e-requesting?
No, because they're doing community requesting, so that hasn't come
Ah,
up. Yeah. Yeah. Although they will probably care about it internally. Yeah.
I mean, in community requesting, MARTA, when I used to work at MARTA, they do a lot of public work and private work. So it would be a major concern for them if they were actually engaged, but they're not. So that's probably why it hasn't come up.
Okay, so in that case, then is there an action item on that, Michael?
So I'll come up with a proposal for a code for jurisdictional funding, for ABF funding. Yep, I'm happy to do that.
Cool. Do you want to raise a ticket, Michael? Just with that
Yep.
in it? Yeah, that'd be good. And then we can
I'll raise a JIRA
bring it
and we
back
can
around.
talk to that.
Yeah, that'd be good if this is just, and we can run that by e-requesting as well. For a discussion.
Okay, that's great. Anything else?
I
to
think the other
discuss?
part is this is in the context of AFMM1. And I think on this basis, we can't say it's AFMM1 yet. I think the poll, well, I guess that's my opinion, is that the polls demonstrated really good coverage of the questions we asked about, but we didn't ask about what else.
Yeah. So
And there are
I
other
can-
codable
yeah.
concepts and other kinds of identifiers and other potential, I don't know, I guess there could be other extensions out there.
All right, so we'll leave the AFMM level as it is, and then come back to revisit it.
Yeah, I'm happy to expand the questions and maybe go back out again.
Okay,
floor.
sounds good.
Yeah,
So
let's do
there's an
that.
action item
Yeah.
on red to expand the questions and then go out and do another poll.
Can I suggest that we actually do that at the timing of the Connectathon, and then we can direct the
Yeah.
people at the Connectathon to fill out that poll? So don't do it now. Give it a couple
I'll
of
get it ready.
weeks.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, that's good because I think it's more just, I don't know if we need to target particular because it's mainly terminology binding we would talk about, wouldn't it be? And
I don't know. There's making an assumption there, and I think, yeah, we can talk about it offline, but I think it's
Yeah,
about
that's right.
what have people actually implemented and whether or not there's different, I guess, yeah, identifiers, different terminology, different concepts that are extensions that are out in use, or needs people are saying, I don't know how to fit this in. And we actually need to work out how to fit that in to make sure that we've addressed the basics of coverage.
That makes more sense. Yeah, how are they actually using it? It's good.
All right.
Like it. Good.
Thank you. Any further discussions on this one?
On AFMM1, yes, but not on coverage. I think we've done coverage to death. There's other AFMM profiles, but this was, okay, so this has been time boxed to 15 minutes. Are we going to do that in the next meeting then? Talk about the other ones. Is that the plan, Brett?
Well, yeah, because I guess we have run through things very quickly, so we do have more time, I think. But the so it's more just there's we have looked at this before. There's a few other profiles at draft 0 level. What one springs to mind is vaccine serial number, which is as an extension that's been around for a while. I think people have used it, so I'm not sure we need to kind of leave that at 0, but it would be fine to go to 1, I think, but we haven't ever approved that, or no one's pushed that forward. So I think it's more just how will we get some action around these things.
I think
so
we can look at them and discuss them like we've done it with coverage, and then create a set of actions.
Yeah.
There's 8 structures currently that as draft 0 in AU base.
Yeah.
So do we want to list those items now here and discuss and then identify action items, or do we want to leave it for the next meeting?
If we do, what's after this? I'll just double check that we don't want to leave space for the other things to happen and then come back to it if we have time.
We want to talk about, I think this is the last item, isn't it? Except for reviewing previous.
Oh, good. So then, we can talk about some of the others. Oh, sorry.
For MBS and the action item on that was left with Richard, and with Mount Sick, probably doesn't make sense to talk about that this week. So happy to defer that for next session.
Okay, as I said, Richard is off sick today, so we don't have him to provide updates. So if we want to table it for the next meeting, and we'll capture it in today's minute for it to be included at the next meeting minute, that will be agenda, that will be good.
All right, well, I think we could then move on to AU-based service request, because that's also draft 0. So if we have a look at that profile.
So do you want to share a screen, Daniel, to give
I can, but I think you're fine doing it. I don't think there's no polls or anything to look at. It's just AU base, like the CI build of AU base. I can find a link for you and drop it in the chat if you want.
That'll be good.
Let's just go to it.
Yeah, this one's probably.
Okay, I've just dropped that in the chat.
Yep.
I think this one's actually probably a candidate for FMM1, mostly because we're getting the verification through e-requesting project, and it's been looked at a bit in core as well, although it's not in R1, it was moved to R2, but there was still some discussion of it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, because I mean, this is essentially a refactor of the diagnostic service request content. The only problem I have is the service request code binding and whether that value set is broad enough for AU base. That's the only question I have.
What is it?
It's on procedure.
This one?
That's an example binding anyway at the moment.
It is.
So maybe I don't care.
I think at the base level, it's very difficult to put the finger on any value set for the service code to be used. I believe that specific or broad enough, sort of like for any particular domain would have to be domain specific implementation guides. So I myself am comfortable just with the example binding at the procedure level.
Yeah, which is not really saying anything in AU base other than
Right.
yeah. Yeah, so I
So
think that's
are there anything else that you want to raise? And then do you plan to make a motion?
So what have we done? We've got, could you pop back to the differential view?
Okay.
So we've identified a relevant extension. We've identified which identifiers are relevant in the Australian context so far, both for identifier and requisition. We've localized the example binding for code. We've localized the preferred binding for reason code and for body site. And are there any other codable concepts in service request?
category. But I think that's domain specific.
So that's, I mean, that's fairly comprehensive. I guess the only question is, does anybody on the line aware of, are we missing identifiers here? Are we missing extensions that are like widely known already? If not, that looks fairly comprehensively localized with also some background testing going on. So I would suggest we could move to AFMM1 on this one.
All right. You making a motion, Danielle?
Yeah, why not? I motion that AU-based service request is AFMM1.
All right. Anyone want to second that?
I'm
Come
happy to
on,
second
people.
that, Josh.
Okay, Josh.
Let's get a different organization. Just
Yes, it sounds like a good idea. Anyone else want to second the motion?
Just before that, sex parameter for clinical use is in the diagnostic request in e-requesting. That's not something we want to put into this.
maybe we do. Maybe that is the reason you're suggesting that we need to list sex parameter for clinical use in AU base as a potential extension.
So let's come back to that as an item for further discussions. I have a motion on the table at the moment. I'm looking for a seconder.
Sure, David McKillop.
All right, David, thank you. We have a motion on the table made by Danielle, and we have David McKillop from the agency seconding that motion. So now we'll open up for further discussions. Michael.
So if we don't put sex parameter for clinical use into this profile, then we're going to have to put it into both of the diagnostic downstream profiles in e-requesting. So it'll have to go into the imaging and pathology profiles.
You'd
So
put
to
it
me, that
into
doesn't
your
make
single abstract one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're
So-
trying to get rid of our abstract one out of e-requesting.
So you're making a friendly amendment, Michael, to add sex for clinical use. Sorry, is that sex for clinical use or?
No, hang on. I don't think that can be a friendly amendment to an AFMM1. That's actually a whole, should we include it? What needs to be done to include sex parameter for clinical use? I think that's too comprehensive a topic or too meaty a topic to be a friendly amendment.
Yeah,
All
because we've got
right,
to decide if it's just going to be relevant or we're actually going to include it as an extension.
We can do that, so we can pass. We can vote on this motion, and then we can then take action item for the one that Michael mentioned as a JIRA ticket, and then move on that.
That'd be good.
All right. Okay. So Brett, please.
Yes, so there's an action item for if someone wants to add SPCU to this, to actually raise a JIRA for base, because there isn't
Yeah.
one now.
So yeah, so we are voting as is. The motion and the second is to vote on this one as migrating from AFMM 0 to AFMM 1.
Right.
All right,
You can
please
see the
cast
poll.
your vote.
Just got 5 out of 13.
All right, starting the countdown. 5,
Oh,
4,
give them a sec. They're coming through.
3,
That's good.
2, 1. So are we stable on numbers, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, and
So altogether we've got with a +1 from me, that is 10 affirmative, 0 negative, and 2 abstentions.
right, and motion carried. All right, so that one out of the way, then there will be an action item from Michael to lock a JIRA ticket. Is that right?
Can
Yep.
we get Michael actually to talk to Ruben? Because Ruben isn't on the line now, but Ruben raised that this was something SPCU was something he'd like to be worked on in AU base. So I think
Okay.
that's part of that discussion. So
All right, so the action item is for Michael Osborne to have a discussion with Ruben Daniels and then come back to the next meeting, and then we can explore further discussions and actions.
sounds good.
All right, cool. All right, with that done, I think is there anything else that we need to talk about AFMM1?
Yeah, there's another
That's
6.
yeah.
Or another 6? Okay.
Uh-huh. So do we
Okay.
want to go for the ones that are more likely, in my opinion, or the ones where we go, gee, do we really need this? And kick them out? Which one? What's our poison?
Let's do the likely ones.
All right.
We
Then
might
I think
call that progress.
in the extensions list, because that was our 2 profiles, right?
Right.
Now we're under terminology and we're extensions. So
Would it
in
be easier for
terms-
you to share screen, Danielle?
Sure, why not?
Yep, instead of me trying to navigate with the links that you give me.
Righto, so I was just looking at the QA on which of these are draft, because everything that's AFMM 0 or draft 0 is got a status of draft. So we just talked about coverage, we've talked about service request. There's health program participation. That's not like, that's a weird one. So we're going to skip past it. And for likelihood, I think it's out of medication strength, vaccine serial number, or possibly ethnicity. So we've got 3 extensions that have been hanging around for a while. And I think it depends on, have you implemented this? Do we want to keep this? Is this a real thing? Across these 3. Brett, where would you think we should start with the most likely? Is that vaccine serial
Yeah.
number?
That's the one I would think
All
is
right.
most likely.
So this extension got added quite some time ago, and it came out of looking at how to support FHIR in Australia about reporting vaccines, and specifically when the COVID reporting rules came in way back when, that you had to report a vial serial number, but the immunization resource does not have that. So there's an extension that got added to AU base for vaccine serial number to allow you to do that, basically, with an example that's sort of semi-realistic on what that kind of looks like. It's just a vaccine vial serial number. So it's pretty straightforward and has a known real world use. And I guess the question is, since this is type string, I mean, there's no further localization or anything we want to do. It's just a matter of determining Is this still complete and appropriate? Are there any QA issues? And there aren't. If I go down to, we've got the QA check for the other one, but in terms of QA check for vaccine vial serial number, there's no errors and no warnings. We don't care about the information, but that's just saying, hey, this is a draft. So the structure itself is all technically authored and complete. So it's up to us on, is this a real AU base extension? Is there any other comments, or did you want to say anything about this one, Brett?
I think it's had a long history and is relevant still. It's meeting a requirement, so I'd be happy with it to go forward, really. I don't see a problem with it.
Keith?
Is there a reason why this hasn't been escalated to international?
The vaccine vial serial number? Don't know. Don't think so.
You'd think it would have an international use, wouldn't you?
It's been so long, I don't remember whether it was ever raised in the first place or
I have a suspicion it was, but yeah.
I mean, I'm looking through the international spec. There's certainly no serial number there in the extensions, but yeah, I'm just surprised that no one else has the same requirement.
yeah, I don't think there was interest. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was an Australian reporting requirement, right? For the so it was needed.
It's not shown up on any of the other immunization IGs. So when you saw the things around COVID, around the health passports or those kinds of things, they're not recording or reporting the vaccine vial serial number. So I guess maybe that's why. But we could take an action to submit this for consideration to the FHIR extensions pack again.
Doesn't necessarily stop us though, does it?
No, it doesn't stop us from having an AU one. So I guess at 0, we would just take it out, whereas at 1, we would deprecate and it would be preserved. Should we take an action to post to create a JIRA and international first?
Just a question from me. I don't seem to be able to raise my hand, but this differs from the immunization lot number.
Oh, yes, very much.
Okay.
Yeah. Slot numbers are like batch product they're manufacturing lots. Yeah. So yeah, it was actually, it came through the AIR requirements, which it's a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a finer grained for the serial number of the specific vial from which a person got a shot, as opposed to, I guess, the overall batch number.
I mean, if the AIR still has a requirement, let's just move on with it. And I mean, we can raise it retrospectively, but
all right, well, I'm happy to motion that we move vaccine vial serial number to AFMM1.
All right, there is a motion. Anyone want to second that? Eve, are you comfortable to second that? Sorry that I kind of put you on the spot because we're looking
I am,
for...
but I'm kind of a bit not sure whether I'm from the same organization or not.
No, you're not representing Spark, as far as I know, in this meeting.
You wear many hats.
Okay.
You can declare that you're not wearing the Spark hats today.
Just wear a different one. Yeah.
Then I will second it.
Okay, thank you. All right. So any other questions? Any further discussions? All right, not hearing any. All right, so Brett, please launch a poll. All right, we see the poll on the screen. Please vote on that.
I think.
Are we stable?
Yep, we
Okay.
are good. So let me end the poll.
Yep.
So final numbers we have with me 13 affirmative. Oh, hang on, I'm going backwards. Scratch that. We have 11 affirmative, 0 negative, and 2 abstentions.
All right, so motion is carried. Thank you. All right, next one.
So we've got either medication strength or ethnicity. Which one do you think is more likely? These have been around for ages. So actually, I'm interested. Is anyone implementing the medication strength extension?
Many records
Noting
does.
Many Records does?
I wasn't
No.
aware it existed. I couldn't find it on the. I must have missed it.
It's actually an interesting comment because in our AU base for immunization, we actually don't use the serial number in the actual profile itself either. And is that a pattern that we've kind of got?
Hang on, are
That's
you talking back on immunization or are you talking
I am, but
medication strength?
it's related to what Marika kind of has alluded to as well in the context of, say, medication. That
We typically, at the time we think it's FMM1, actually include it. Before we've agreed it's like a real thing, it gets listed under potentially useful extensions. So we're like, there might be
Okay,
something
yeah.
useful, but we're not sure. But when we agree that it actually really is a thing, then it typically gets added. So actually, can I make a follow-up motion to our last one then to propose that now that we've agreed that vaccine vial serial number is going to AFMM1, that it actually gets added as an optional extension into the AU-based immunization profile? I'd like to motion that.
And I'll second that.
All right. So is there a new motion and a new second to the motion?
Go ahead, Danny.
All right.
Heath.
Heath seconded.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, he seconded. All right. Any further discussions and questions? All right. Nothing so far. Then we can launch a new poll. All right. Please start to vote. Let me know if we are at a stable point, Brett.
We through. I think we have reached maximum votes.
Okay,
so
then we can end the poll.
Yeah, great. So with my +1, we have 11 affirmative, 0 negative, and 2 abstentions.
Okay, so back on medication strength then.
I'm just going to show the page on where and how it might surface. We've got a page in AU Core about medicinal product identification and where, I guess, depending on how you've done things, forms and strength, you might or might not use extensions, or it might all be captured in the coding. So I think we've even got an example. Do we even use it as medication strength anywhere in an extension?
I'm not sure we have
I don't think we do.
Yeah.
And it's not listed in under the potentially useful extensions either.
I have
I think there was
for it, though, that I wasn't aware that it was something that was available, and now that I know it's there, I would like to use it.
Right then. Well, I think that's telling us let's vote on this one then. We've got use cases. Someone's implemented it. Someone now knows it exists and wants to implement it. That tells me we should.
I'm happy to make a motion to move the maturity level up to 1 then.
All right, medication
Yes,
strength.
also add it to something to make it more discoverable.
Yes, I think we would add it to AU-based medication.
We do that all together.
I'll second that.
Question from Ruben. So I think ingredient strength, you can list per ingredient exactly what the strength is. In terms of strength for medication, it might be more general. So it might list the dosages or strengths of each of the components of the medication, or at least that's what I'm seeing in my system.
Yes.
Or it might break it down as like, oh, you get 200 micrograms per inhalation, or whereas the ingredients will say per ingredient what is provided as part of that.
I think
Yeah,
the
so
more
those
important
are-
thing is that it's a string and not a ratio.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
Apart
can we
from
just
that,
check the context though? Because I think that's
Yeah.
relevant to this question, is the context of where you can use the extension. So if we come back to it, its current context is sitting right up at the top of the medication root level. So you can't use it per ingredient. It just sits up here as an overall textual description of strength.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually have a use case for an extension on ingredient.strength as well. So for an extension there, because there are some things that we can surface as a ratio and some things that are not possible for us to surface as a ratio. So I still need this one, but we'll need another one, or could, like, if there was a dual purpose, that would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's good. We could get a ticket on that. That'd be good.
can we just do it as part of the motion and say that if we can add the medication ingredient to the context of the extension, and then make it FMM1, and then add it to medication and medication ingredient?
So we are adding a friendly amendment here.
Yeah, happy with that amendment.
Okay.
I see Ruben's
Oh.
hand too.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if this is talking about manufactured strength or dosage strength.
It's the manufactured medication strength,
Yeah.
not
Okay.
dose.
So-
Dose is
Okay,
done
so-
in the dosage, not in the medication.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear that that's the way that the extension is defined. And I also think the extension should explain why you would use it instead of the ingredient dot strength element and what the relationship between them is. Because I can see potential for, I suppose, conflicting data being represented here.
Yeah, I mean, the original requirement was actually my health record CDA content, because that's how that's allowed to have products that don't have strengths to be represented in the code. So you need a way to represent the strength. And they only had unstructured. Yeah. So it's one of those ones. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, for me, I just don't want a situation where there are multiple ingredients with varying kinds of strength, and then this extension is only representative of one of them or a subset of them. Maybe that's allowed, maybe it isn't. I think we should be very clear on how to use this extension so as not to create conflicts.
Ruben, I'm not sure what your question is. If we're talking about those strengths have a very clear definition. It states that it's the amount of active ingredient provided in a dose form, in a medication. So that is very clear, and I'm not sure why there is a question.
The question is, there can be multiple ingredients. And
but we're talking about
presumably this is
active
a singular.
ingredient.
can be
I don't know if we're
multiple
talking about active ingredient. We're
Well,
talking
the
about the
definition
It can
of
be
those
both,
strengths.
actually, because this
It's
one.
active or inactive.
And
Yeah,
you
it's
can
all-
have
all
multiple
this.
active ingredients.
Yeah, it's all of these. Yeah.
Yes, but
Yeah.
we can have multiple active ingredient. That's why ingredient is 0 ...
Yes. So my point, Stephen, is that under ingredients, you can have multiple, and each of them can have a strength as a ratio. Now, if all of that is present and the extension is also present, my point is we need to be clear the relationship between the two and perhaps add rules to ensure that there aren't conflicts between what's being represented in those elements.
I guess if the extension was present, if the extension is present on the route, you can assume it's generally about the active ingredients. And if the extension is present on ingredient item, then provided that's permissible, then you can say, well, it's just about this ingredient specifically. Our system has the capability of surfacing both. So it has a strength for the ingredient and a strength for the like the ability to show a strength for the ingredient and an ability to show the strength for the medication as a whole.
So if we document what assumptions can and can't be made, that would be great.
But the
I'd like to raise
assumption
my
would,
hand. I
but the
can't, well,
assum-
I'm screen sharing, so I'm just saying at some point my hand is raised.
Oh, okay, sorry, Danielle.
okay.
Raise
Heath
your
is
hand.
first. Heath is first, and then I'd, yeah.
I'm hearing that we're not ready to move to FMM1.
That I think was
I'd
kind
agree
of,
with that.
I really thought that I like both what Ruben suggested. Like, I think we clearly recognize the value of this, but I think actually we need to have a proposal which talks about the guidance, and we bring that back to the next call and go, here's the full thing. Let's vote on the guidance and how it gets used. And then if we all approve that, then our second motion can be great, and AFMM1 that. That's what I'm hearing as well.
Yeah, sounds good to me, but I agree with Marika. If the extension appears at the root level versus at the ingredient level, then the definition or the meaning, semantic meaning is very clear. So we just need to make it very clear in the description. That's what I think.
So do we want someone to do a card that tries to include all of the proposed changes, and whether that's Ruben to contribute that as well as Marika or something like that to that one card, or do we want two cards and try and reconcile?
No, just one, I think, can do like, here are the changes to medication strength.
We'll just take it to Zulip to try and work out what that card says.
Yep, I think that sounds good. Ruben, are you happy to?
Yeah, I am. Can I just clarify, by card you mean Jira tracker item?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, yeah,
Okay.
but we probably need to have the conversation on Zulip to get the agreed change before the before the card is created.
Yep.
Otherwise, it becomes read only to Marika and myself, for example. You might be able to edit it, Ruben, but we can't.
So we are deferring. So we are deferring this action item until further discussions. Correct?
Well, I think there's an action on Marika and Ruben to put together a proposal for the next call on the changes to medication. Hang on, what is it? It's medication strength extension before we move to AFMM1.
Right. So today's motion to move it to FMM1 would now be deferred. That's what I'm asking.
Correct.
Okay, cool. All right. So we have about 10 minutes left. Danielle, do you want to go to another one, or we are
the next one's pretty meaty. The next one, and we might end up deferring this, is the eternal ethnicity extension.
I think we haven't had a terminology for 5 more years, and I don't see the point. Yeah. We've got some ideas there, but unless we're going to actually get a solution for standardized terminology, I don't think.
When you say don't see the point, do you mean don't see the point in proceeding with this extension, or?
I'm thinking about it now. It'd be much better if there was a standardized terminology, but then again, if you have at the moment, like, you get all sorts of things used as ethnicity coding. So I guess you can identify their ethnicity codings, but I feel like it's a bit weak. But it's okay to use. I mean, people have used it.
I think
I just feel like it's not going anywhere.
In terms of AFMM1, especially something with codable concept, I don't think we can declare this as substantially complete without terminology. And I think the point we get stuck on then is, but there is no meaningful agreed terminology that supports this use in Australia. So I think we keep going around this circle.
Yeah, so we can either let it live here forever.
Zero.
Yeah, or try and
Oh, can I ask what the use case for this extension more broadly is?
Preventative care is super useful.
So we have implemented.
We were considering implementing this, but waiting for it to be moved from draft because we didn't want to have to implement and then move. But we're primary care.
Yeah, it's definitely recorded in primary care systems, but with different terminologies.
And it's useful because the ethnicity changes a whole host of things that general practitioners are looking at in terms of risk factors or what BMI reference ranges to use, for example.
MediRecords implements it.
With which terminology?
Maybe you guys can agree on the terminology.
They have their own list of ethnicities. I don't know what the basis of it is, but basically it looks like it's like Brazilian, Bosnian, Bulgarian. So I don't know what the source of that is. It is an internal value set though.
Right.
Yeah, because there's a lot of confusion between nationality, ethnic groups, and more genetic oriented classifications. So it's a bit it's like, and it's used various ways. Like say in the Red Book, so the preventive care guidelines, like it's used in various ways. So it's I think it's not that clear. Yeah.
Well, wouldn't there be an ABS value set?
There is.
Yeah, that's this one.
It's the ASCCG.
To the extent that it recognizes that. It's not for that use though.
The ancestry
if there are
coding
things like
index. What's that?
Yeah,
that's the closest.
That's the closest to it.
Yeah, I think there's definitional things to ask because it's like if it's really a cultural ethnicity thing, or
you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take an
something
action
else.
to put these under the STU note formatting because they're not visible. And we do have a where I want feedback. There's supposed to be some formatting that calls that out. So can we put an action on me to do that and I'll update this? We could put out a call to people about this. There is a real concern between, so the FHIR Work Group is obviously not the right group to be agreeing on what is the appropriate terminology in Australia. What we should be doing is having the interoperability discussions, which in some cases, if there isn't an agreed appropriate terminology, I mean, we can't step in and just decide one for this kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So how do we funnel this? Is this something we can funnel up into AUCDI? Do we funnel this back into the agency to ask, is there a project coming on this where that might get on the work program to develop one?
Maybe the starting point is AUCDI.
Yeah, we can put in action on me to get an update from the AUCDI folks on whether or not this is in their backlog or if that's coming. I think they're running into the same problems as well with being a standardization exercise that I don't actually think there is an appropriate terminology that currently exists in Australia.
Yeah, I'd be happy if like it was like even if there were multiple terminologies that are in that space that we could identify. So at least people knew what to use it for, and leave it open in terms of what it means. Unless you want to get more specific, but these are all choices, right? So I think
the concept of ethnicity is important to culturally sensitive care to the patient, but they are not necessarily kind of important or heavily impacting on sort of clinical type of decisions in terms of say, for example.
But if you run through preventative care guidelines, like the risk factors, like you go into different risk categories if you're from
Yeah,
island of
there's a
descent,
clinical
right, or
dimension
something,
to
right?
it.
And
Yeah, so there is
changes
kind of a
reference
bunch of things.
ranges for certain things
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes
Okay,
and
how
no
about
in terms of reference
how
ranges.
about we, I think for the purposes of this, it's clearly we're not at the point where we can agree it's AFMM1, but I think it's of sufficient interest that we should actually talk about it again.
Yep. Sounds like a plan.
Just a word of warning here. The corresponding code system used in the United States is far and away the most controversial of all the terminologies used in HL7. The CDC's race and ethnicity codes is a constant source of angst and controversy. So just giving everyone a heads up that we might be heading in that direction with this year as well.
Well, you will always be.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to stop sharing there. I think we stopped talking about the AFMM1 with 5 minutes to go, and we'll minute that there's an action on me to contact the AUCDI editors and understand where that is. Heath, was it about ethnicity?
It is just final comments.
Yeah.
I think it's worth probably talking to the hospital system vendors, because I'm pretty sure that that's a fairly regular one that they use. And also Meteor. I'm trying to look at Meteor, but I'm wondering why it may or may not be in Meteor. I can't find it at the moment.
It's not in Meteor.
Right.
But yeah. Or it wasn't when we last checked, I think 18 months ago.
Okay, it still doesn't seem to be.
All right. So with that as a closing note, I think we can adjourn the meeting unless there's any other business that we want to discuss. Or planning for the next meeting. Is there anything to discuss, Daniel and Brett?
Plenty, I think. We've got lots for the next agenda, don't we? We've postponed some things. I think we've got the AFMM one. If we've got space for it, we'll keep having that discussion, though. I think we're starting to get into the ones that I think we'll actually say, look, our position is that we don't think these are viable, so they actually need to go out of AU base. I think we've got some actions to report back on, and hopefully Richard as well, and we can pick back up that MBS conversation. We also will do, there should be some PSSs coming in for, oh no, there's project release reports from the AU Core Inferno, R1, and also from the HL7AU test data project is presenting release report backs to this group. What have I missed? Because I think we did defer a bunch of things. Oh, potentially getting, that's right, the e-requesting folks and seeing if they'll be available at the next meeting to talk about the UI content.
Oh yeah, and I guess because Ruben was off the call, that SBCU potential for service requests would be good to have.
Yep. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think we can wrap up now, correct?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So one final question from me. Do we have a conference page for the March Connectathon up somewhere, Brett and Danielle?
Yes, there is.
There is,
HL7AU Connectathon. I'll just try and get it now for you.
That would be wonderful.
There it is.
Cool.
So yeah, there's an overall one. I think the agenda is, they're just getting to the agenda now, but that's the page for it. And we can
Right.
make sure that that is linked in the minutes, that this is where all the agenda and information will be.
Okay.
And we can discuss the final arrangements in our next call. But for those of you who can't make it, the FHIR Work Group meeting that we'll hold on the work group meeting day, so same as symposium, will be hybrid. So for those of you who can join us in the room, because you never know whether or not the technical connection will work. But otherwise, we'll send out an updated meeting invite for that hybrid meeting and update, I guess, all the other places you find the meeting connection details.
That's good to note. 'Cause
Awesome.
it won't be this link. Yeah.
Thank
Yep.
you. All right. Okay. With that, we are 1 minute to the finishing line. So thank you everyone for your contribution. We stop the recording.
We can see.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right.